Starting off this countdown in no particular order, we have Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's dad, Charles Harrelson, was an American hitman and organized crime figure. Yes, you heard me correctly. Beloved actor Woody Harrelson had a father who was a cold-blooded killer. He was just 7 at the time when his father first went to prison. It's said that he was responsible for the deaths of at least 20 people. In 1979, that is when Charles committed his biggest kill of all time. He took out a federal judge by the name of Judge John H. Wood Jr. He was the first federal judge to be killed in the 20th century. He was paid $250,000 to kill off this judge. It was because a drug dealer was about to be sentenced by this judge, who was known as Maximum John, because he always gave out really harsh punishments to drug dealers. So he got Charles to knock him off for him. But this landed him behind bars and in solitary confinement. He was there until he was 69 when he died from a heart attack. Obviously, Woody does not want to be defined by his father's actions. In our 9th spot, we have Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin is one of the few actors who actually grew up in a cult. He was born into the commune of Children of God, but when he was 4 years old, his parents managed to escape the cult and move. That's actually why they changed their last name to Phoenix, as it symbolizes rebirth, since they were able to leave this cult and start a new life. Unfortunately, he also lost his brother at a young age. In 1993, his brother River Phoenix died from an overdose. Joaquin witnessed this happen, and he was the one that called 911. In our 8th spot today, we have Phil Lewis. Phil Lewis is best known for his role of Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and I freaking love that show. Like, it was honestly my childhood. Well, before his Disney Channel days, he actually killed someone. In December of 1991, Lewis fatally hit a 21-year-old woman. She passed away from her injuries from the hit. It was found that Lewis was driving while intoxicated. His blood alcohol levels were 3 times the legal limit of intoxication. As a result, he was convicted of a DUI as well as manslaughter. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, 2 years probation, and 350 hours of community service. But he managed to only serve 1 year in prison. I guess Disney was able to overlook his past when he auditioned for Mosby on the show. In our 7th spot today, we have Tim Allen. Now, if you look at Tim Allen, you think, aw, he's such a family man. I love Home Improvement and Toy Story. He's a great actor. Wow. Tim Allen actually had quite a dark past before he got into acting. In 1978, Allen was arrested for attempting to traffic more than 650 grams of coke. He was arrested in Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport. Now, he actually would have served a lifetime in prison, but he avoided this by giving police information about other dealers. As a result, his sentence was reduced to 3 to 7 years. He ended up serving 2 years and 4 months in prison and then was granted parole in 1981. I guess that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover, because he looks like a wholesome dad, not a drug trafficker. In our 6th spot, we have Jack Nicholson. In 1974, Time magazine discovered that Jack's sister, June, was actually his mother, not his sister. How wild is that? So June was only 17 when she became pregnant with Jack, and she wasn't married, so her parents agreed to raise the child as their own, with Jane and Lorraine acting like his older sisters. So his parents were actually his grandparents, and his sister Lorraine was his aunt. In regards to his dad, we don't know for sure who is his dad, but some say it was likely June's manager. Other sources claim June really just doesn't know who the father was. By the time Jack found this all out, his mom, June, and his grandma had already passed away. Imagine how that would have changed his life. Like, he was raised on a lie. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Sean Penn. A number of women have come forward saying that Sean Penn has been aggressive towards them. In fact, he has mistreated a number of his partners, including Madonna. They were married from 1985 to 1989. While in December of 1988, Penn allegedly tied Madonna to a chair and held her hostage for 9 hours and apparently hit her multiple times. When he untied her to let her use the bathroom, she fled to the police station. One officer said, and I quote, "Madonna staggered into the station. She was distraught, crying, with makeup smeared all over her face. I hardly recognized her. She had obviously been struck." Sean was charged with inflicting corporal injury and traumatic conditions on Madonna, as well as battery. But Madonna withdrew her complaint a week later and has rarely commented on it since, which is quite odd. Why would she say that he harmed her and then retract the statement? So who knows what really happened? happened. Moving on to number 4, we have Leighton Meester. Now, I personally did not know this, but Blair Waldorf, aka Leighton Meester, wasn't always the queen bee of Manhattan. In fact, she was born in prison. Basically, her mom was serving a sentence after smuggling a lot of marijuana out of Jamaica with the help of Leighton's dad and Aunt Judy. All of them ended up behind bars. In fact, her aunt managed to escape prison and became America's first woman on the US Marshals 15 Most Wanted list. How insane is that? In the end, Leighton's grandmother raised her while her mom served 16 months in prison. Thank gosh she didn't follow in her family's footsteps. In our third spot, we have Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken was involved in a death that is just shrouded in mystery. On November 29th, 1981, 43-year-old actress Natalie Wood was found dead floating face down in the Pacific Ocean. She was on a yacht with her husband Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken when this happened. The thing is, no one really knows what happened to her. Some say she slipped off the deck and fell into the water, while others are convinced that her husband or Christopher Walken had something to do with it, or that they know what happened. One theory is that Natalie and Christopher were having an affair, Wagner found out about it, got mad, and pushed her off the yacht. Now, Wagner seems to be the prime suspect, but many people think that Walken knows exactly what happened. I mean, he barely even talks about the case, and on the rare occasion that he did, he would call it an accident, and also he was absent from the documentary about her. All I'm gonna say is someone knows something. I'm getting the vibe that Walken knows what happened and maybe he just feels guilty about it. In our second spot, we have Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron actually had a very traumatic upbringing. Her dad struggled with alcohol addiction and would constantly threaten Charlize and her mom, Gerda. He would never physically hurt her, but he would hurt Gerda. One night in June of 1991, he got angry and fired shots at both of them. During that altercation, Gerda ran and grabbed her own handgun that she had kept hidden and shot him back. Her shots killed him while Charlize watched it all unravel. In the end, it was declared self-defense and Gerda never faced any charges. But think how traumatizing that must have been for her to see her mother shoot and kill her dad as a teenager. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Ashton Kutcher. Now, I never knew this and I was incredibly shocked when I found out about it. But on February 21st of 2001, Ashton Kutcher went over to his then girlfriend's house, Ashley Elrin. The two had planned on going to a post-Grammy party, but when he knocked on the door, there was no answer. That's because Ashley was dead on the floor of her home. She had been stabbed 47 times by a man named the Hollywood Ripper. He was responsible for the death of up to 10 women. As a result, Ashton Kutcher lost his girlfriend very suddenly and in a very traumatic way. He was also scared that he was going to be a suspect in the murder investigation since his fingerprints were on her door, but he never was. But he did have to testify in court.
Number 10 is Joe Jonas. Jonas Brothers Joe Jonas spoke with Wonderland magazine in May 2019 about the struggles of being a Disney Channel star alongside his brothers. Joe made it clear how Disney was a saving grace for the trio when he said, quote, "When we were getting started, we were in a position at one point where we were without a label and we didn't really know what the next steps were going to be. And Disney reached out with a huge opportunity for us to be signed by them and work on a TV show. This was kind of a saving grace for us in that point of our career, and we jumped on that opportunity." But still, Joe went on to say, quote, "As you get older and you're a young adult and you're still on the Disney Channel, that can feel a little uncomfortable. Creatively, you can feel like you're a little boxed in and you can't really expand and grow. Lyrically, what you're going through in that time in your life, you have to protect your audience by only writing what Disney would approve. It was a little bit tricky as we got older, that's for sure. But that's just the music." While chatting with Vulture way back in 2013, Joe called out the Disney Channel for its apparently terrible writing and strict rules for their film projects. He said, quote, "It just ended up being some weird slapstick humor that only a 10-year-old would laugh at. They took out the kissing scene that Nick had. I had to shave every day because they wanted me to pretend like I was 16 when I was 20. When the show was done, I cut my hair off and grew as much of a beard as I could. We went along with it at the time because we thought Disney was our only real shot, and we were terrified that it could all be taken away from us at any moment. Now that is the truth of the matter. Disney child stars are all terrified of having Disney pull the rug out from under them, but that'll become more obvious as we continue on." At number 9 today is Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus was probably one of the most popular of the Disney stars with Hannah Montana, where she played enjoyed a dual life. While the popularity of her show is a huge reason for her popularity now, that doesn't mean it's all peaches and cream. Speaking with Marie Claire back in 2015, the actress and singer explained how being Hannah Montana impacted her mental health, saying, quote, "I was told for so long what a girl is supposed to be from being on Hannah Montana. I was made to look like someone that I wasn't, which probably caused some body dysmorphia because I had been made pretty every day for so long, and then when I wasn't on that show, I was like, who the F am I?" That really spells out the effects of being a child star. In a February 2019 interview on the RuPaul What's the Tea podcast, Miley elaborated on her disillusion with herself when she said, quote, "I didn't really get to be a kid very much because I worked so much, but I wanted that. Since the last record, my last record was called Younger Now, and it says, even though it's not who I am, I'm not afraid of who I used to be. That was my epiphany." Number 8, Dylan Sprouse. If you weren't aware, Cole and Dylan Sprouse were two Disney Channel heavyweights with The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and The Sweet Life on Deck. But instead of the network pulling the rug out from under them, it was actually the twins that turned their back on Disney. For some pretty understandable reasons too. Dylan Sprouse revealed the real reason why he and his twin brother, Cole Sprouse, left the network while speaking with Vulture in December 2017. Dylan spoke about how the pair had, quote, "a really awesome idea for where the show needed to go. But when they brought that idea to the higher ups at Disney, their idea was ultimately turned down." Speaking on that in the same interview, he said, quote, "We were 18. If that isn't old enough to know exactly what the show needs, then, well, I would beg to disagree. I don't think Disney were willing to work with us really ever, so we stopped the show." And honestly, that's kind of punk as hell. Stick it to the man, Dylan. Good job. Number 7, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne may be one of the most outspoken ex-Disney stars. During a February 2021 interview with Fox News, she said, quote, "There are definitely a lot of pressures in the Disney eye to be so perfect, and I think that's where Disney in a sense goes wrong, because they make their kids seem perfect. That image is very difficult. It's also never been me. I always just like to do what no one else is doing." She would go on to say, quote, "Little kids growing up don't need to see perfect people. Kids need to see real people. They need to see diversity. They need to see intriguing." Bella opened up about another Disney instance during a podcast interview, which is completely different, called High Low with M. Rada in December 2022. Recalling a time when, well, quote, "I almost got fired off the Disney Channel because I was 14 and I wore a two-piece on the beach." According to her, there was a fan that got a photo, and when that photo went into the World Wide Web, people began to put Disney under pressure to fire the actress. She said, quote, "Obviously Disney didn't fire me, but also they were like, hey, we're getting a lot of heat for this. Everyone's getting a lot of heat for this because you're in a bikini on the beach." Which is when apparently they said, quote, "So she needs to make sure she goes out in board shorts and a loose t-shirt next time she's at the beach." She continued on, quote, "They said, you're lucky Bella has such a fan base that we can't afford to fire her at this moment in time, but if she does one more other thing, we'll fire her." But I didn't even talk about when a Disney casting director also fired Bella because they thought the 10-year-old was flirting with them. What even is that? What? Number 6, Stephanie Scott. While she had released music and acted a little bit before her time at Disney, Stephanie Scott played the role of Lexi Reed on Disney Channel's Ant Farm from 2011 to 2014, which won her a second Young Artist Award and introduced her to a wider audience. While on Disney, she also recorded a bunch of Disney Channel promotional singles, which were released between 2008 and 2012. However, despite her success and time with Disney, in a 2015 interview with BuzzFeed, the actress threw some major shade at the network. She claimed that her role as Lexi Reed forced her to, quote, "sugarcoat everything all the time." She said, quote, "That's one of the hardest things, not being able to express myself in a certain way or being stuck having to promote something or say something I don't believe in. It's kind of hard after a while when you are feeling things and having a rough time in your personal life and you can't express your emotions through your work," which heavily echoes the feelings of the other stars on this list. Stephanie explained, quote, "I wanted to tell stories of troubled girls where everything isn't perfect all the time. I didn't want it to stop there and be labeled as a Disney girl. I quickly realized I wanted to do more. If you've been on a Disney show, people target you as being the sitcom funny girl who can't take herself seriously and doesn't really have true emotions because they have to be perfect and pure, not shattered and torn in any way." Number 5. Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato opened up about her time on the network to Harper's Bazaar in March 2020 and admitted that they had a hard time with the Disney workload, which, as a kid, was likely way more than normal. They covered themselves at first by saying, quote, "I'm grateful for the opportunities that I got, but despite that, they also said, quote, do I wish that I'd had more downtime? Yes. I think when you are a teenager and you're given your big break, you'll do anything to make it happen. I do feel that a lot of the way some of my life was handled and lived led me to kind of having a bit of a downfall just because I was so overworked and I wasn't dedicating enough time to my mental health or my personal life." Now, while she didn't so much speak about the restrictiveness of the network like the other stars have, she spoke more about the effect of imposing a celebrity lifestyle onto a growing human being, and in a separate interview with Billboard from 2016, Demi joked that they had PTSD after leaving the channel. They added, quote, "We joked around that it was Disney high, except we were all shooting shows and really overworking ourselves." Number 4. Selena Gomez. Just like a lot of other Disney stars, Selena Gomez, who got her Disney fame from being the main character of Disney Channel's Wizards of Waverly Place, felt that her time at Disney started to paint her as someone who she wasn't, like almost everyone else on this list. When speaking with the New York Times in 2015 about moving away from that image, she said, quote, "I'm growing and changing. I was in a relationship and I was being managed by my parents and I was still under Hollywood and Disney. And I was being held to this expectation of being the good girl." She continued, "I knew deep down that this wasn't what I wanted to do. Being exhausted, forcing something that wasn't right, even in my personal life, I had to have moments where I was crying and I was like, why am I not in love with what I do? I was forced to get very uncomfortable for a while in order to make the decisions I made." Now, while that seems pretty much par for the course here, quite some time later, during the Television Critics Association press panel in August 2021, she elaborated on what I personally think is the main issue with becoming a Disney child star. She said, quote, "I signed my life away to Disney at a very young age and I didn't know what I was doing because, you know, she was a kid." Number 3. Coco Jones. Coco Jones starred in the Disney Channel original movie Let It Shine, which is where she found her primary Disney Channel successes. But she also had recurring roles on 2 Disney series, So Random and Good Luck Charlie, competed in Radio Disney's The Next Big Thing singing competition, and signed with Hollywood Records music label, which is owned by Disney. But then, kind of as soon as it all started, it began to unwind. In a 2020 YouTube live stream, she revealed that a Let It Shine sequel was planned, but that it was canceled for reasons completely unknown to her. She was also apparently supposed to get her own show, which also never came to be. Hollywood Records, though, seemed to be the main cause for concern here. They dictated what the celeb could wear, say, and sing, and the people that the network supplied her to work with wanted her to sound, quote, sellable, which is a term that is up to interpretation by you guys. She put out a few singles and an EP, but right before her actual album was supposed to drop with the record label, the label dropped her. And apparently they told Coco, quote, "We don't know what to do with you." At that point in her life, she was homeschooled after dropping out to make Disney and her career her priority. Afterwards, she understandably dealt with depression, but with the support of her parents, she graduated high school early and moved to LA. Going forward, she booked the role of Hilary Banks on Bel Air, signed a new record deal with High Standards and Def Jam Recordings, and dropped her major label debut single, Caliber. So good job. Number 2, Ashley Tisdale. Another heavyweight Disney star, Ashley Tisdale played Sharpay Evans in Disney's High School Musical trilogy and in her own spin-off, Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure. She also played major roles in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and Phineas and Ferb. Now, after the first High School Musical movie, which, if you don't know, was huge, Ashley joined her castmates for High School Musical: The Concert. While on the tour, which itself must have been both a dream come true and a nightmare with all the scheduling and little downtime, she also performed her own original song, He Said, She Said. However, similar to the experience that Jonas Brothers had, Disney made her change certain lyrics. In a TikTok, Ashley said that Disney made her change the line "kissing like that" to "dancing like that" for the tour. The original lyrics were "Baby, I can see us moving like that. Baby, I can see us touching like that. Baby, I can see us kissing like that. We don't need no more he said, she said." But while I get the image that Disney is trying to uphold here, I don't believe changing an artist's original work is fair. Just take the song out in its entirety. That would have been my idea. I think that would still not be okay. So just like, I don't know, leave it alone. And finally, in at number 1, Alison Stoner. You may recognize Alison Stoner for her supporting roles in actually quite a few Disney Channel productions, like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Camp Rock, Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam, and Phineas and Ferb. I remember them best from Cheaper by the Dozen, but that's just me. They have been one of those few Disney Channel veterans that has actually tried to make things better for other stars going forward, and they've been pretty vocal about some of Disney's shenanigans. In a 2021 YouTube interview, Allison said, "While traversing extreme peaks and valleys of global fame, hidden medical hospitalizations, artistic milestones, rapid adultification, and multi-layered mistreatment I wish on no one, I narrowly survived the toddler to train wreck pipeline." That's a hell of a way to describe surviving Disney. They went on to say, "As someone who lived it and witnessed thousands endure alongside me, I can attest that what is missing from the pipeline narrative are clear action plans for intervention, long-term prevention, and accountability from studios, agencies, and guardians." Unlike other stars, Allison turned their experience into ideas to improve the safety and well-being of other children in entertainment, such as requiring studios to have a mental health professional on set, improving child labor laws, and making media and industry literacy courses mandatory for guardians and representatives. One of my favorite quotes from the celeb, though, goes like this, quote, "If we disrupt and heal the toddler to train wreck pipeline, we won't need another cautionary memoir." And that's actually helped.
Number 10, The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger was making moves as a romantic comedy and drama actor, starring in movies like 10 Things I Hate About You and Brokeback Mountain. But it was his turn as the clown prince of darkness, the Joker, in Christopher Nolan's 2008 Batman The Dark Knight that changed his life. He delivered what is considered to be the greatest performance of not only his career, but as the Joker. Still being brought up whenever the debate of who is the best comes to light. Heath was incredible, but Jack Nicholson will always be my Joker. Unfortunately, only a few months before the film released in theaters, Ledger suffered a fatal substance overdose and passed away. In the years that followed, many speculations began circulating that the role may have had something to do with his poor mental health. While his family adamantly denies this, the proof is in the pudding. When the production began, Heath isolated himself from his fellow actors, and he kept a diary of disturbing images to enter the realm of a psychopath. Following the end of the shoot, he reportedly found it very difficult to sleep without the help of sedatives and painkillers, which were the combination that ultimately led to his overdose. It seems that playing the Joker takes a toll on any and all who don the bright green wig, so please be warned, if a man from DC ever walks up to you and offers you a role, just say no and walk away. Number 9, Ray. Jamie Foxx is one of the most talented men in Hollywood. This guy can sing, he can act, he can dance, and he can write. He does it all. Jamie's career has been filled with a few misses, but mainly hits, and his hits hit hard. Jamie has appeared in many big budget flicks over his career, like Collateral alongside Tom Cruise, White House Down with Channing Tatum, and he even took a step into the more serious direction when he played musician Ray Charles in the biopic about his life called Ray. Jamie played the blind piano player for roughly 3 months of shooting, but to better portray the character and to get into the proper mindset, Jamie had the production team literally glue his eyes shut while filming. This was a bit of an extreme reaction, and Jamie suffered dearly for it. Not only could he not see anything while he was on set, but he had to go to the hospital after some of the glue seeped through his eyelid and made contact with his eyeball. Thankfully, he suffered no permanent damage from the role, and he did receive the Oscar for Best Actor that year, so I don't know, I guess the pain and discomfort was well worth it. Number 8, The Blind Side. The Blind Side was a 2009 biopic about the true story of NFL star Michael Oher. In the film, he is a homeless young man who is adopted by a wealthy family and eventually makes his way to college and the NFL. Unfortunately, it was recently revealed that that was mostly just BS. Recently, the subject of the film, Michael Oher, shared allegations against the Toohey family, claiming that they had tricked him into signing himself into a conservatorship and not adoption papers like he was led to believe. According to new information released by the studio and Michael himself, the Tooheys negotiated a deal with 20th Century Fox that left Oher without any payment for the rights to his name, likeness, or life story, while the Toohey family received a contract price of $225,000 and 2.5% of the film's net proceeds. That film has since grossed about $300 million, but according to Michael, he hasn't seen a penny. Wait, those aren't a thing anymore. Okay, he hasn't seen a nickel. No, it's not as good. The paperwork made it so that the family would be in complete control of his contracts when it came time to sign up for football, with Papa Toohey being the main culprit of the scam. The Tooheys came forward and claimed that Michael is lying and that they actually have records to prove that they never made any money off the movie. But they did not deny tricking him into signing fake adoption papers, so I'm gonna go with Michael on that one. Number 7, Poltergeist, 1981. Poltergeist brought together two legends of the 20th century cinema with very different sensibilities. We had the director Tobe Hooper, best known known for the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, Hooper's work was gritty, dark, and pretty much just something of a downer. Coming from a much more family-friendly sensibility, we had co-writer and producer Steven Spielberg. Spielberg's movies were high budget and kid-inclusive, so if you put them together, you get Poltergeist, a gritty horror movie with an Amblin sheen and soundtrack heavily featuring child actors. One major thing that this movie had going for it was its use of practical effects, creating some truly uncomfortable and creepy scenes. Like, don't even get me started on that clown. But one dark fact behind the picture was the use of real-life skeletons for one of the last few scenes in the movie. Without telling the actors, Steven and the crew ventured off to a nearby university to acquire some authentic skeletons that were reportedly hung up in classrooms to study. Poltergeist was plagued with a number of supernatural issues like set pieces falling on their own, equipment malfunctioning, and the darkest fact of all, several of the cast and crew involved with this movie passed away shortly after filming. Almost a Final Destination type situation. I'm not sure what Steven was expecting though. How are you gonna bring in real life human remains on a set and think that everything's gonna be fine? Number 6. The Wizard of Oz. This classic story is one of the most loved movies of all time, first premiering in 1939 and still being viewed by many people to this day. However, despite its success, many view the film as being a little bit cursed. There were so many serious accidents on set of the film, from the two actors playing the witch's winged monkeys crashing to the ground when their wires broke midair, to the Wicked Witch's stunt double being severely burned by a stunt gone wrong. According to a writer for the New York Times, many of the special effects being done for this movie had never actually been done before. For instance, the makeup and prosthetics used on Buddy Ebsen, aka the original Tin Man, essentially poisoned him as the makeup was made of pure aluminum dust. After 9 straight days of shooting, he was taken to the hospital and made to sit in an oxygen tent. When he wasn't getting any better anytime soon, they decided to recast him and hired Jack Haley to finish the shoot. This time, instead of applying aluminum powder directly to his skin though, they mixed it in with a paste and painted it on his body. Wait, they could have just done that the whole time? Number 5. Now You See Me. Now You See Me was a little action movie about an FBI agent played by Mark Ruffalo chasing a team of magicians who pull off elaborate bank heists during their performances. Fun movie, good premise, eh. During one scene in particular, actor Isla Fisher was placed in a glass tank and chained up for an escape act. The stunt team set her up with a magnetic release so that the metal chains that were around her body wouldn't tangle. Oh, but boy did they! The chains wrapped themselves around Isla in a way that actually prevented that mechanism from working. The team had placed a kill switch in the tank that could drain it in 70 seconds, however, as a result of being tangled, she couldn't reach the switch. While the crew did eventually catch on that she was in real trouble, it wasn't before the cameras rolled and captured her genuine terror. The clip taken during this incident was actually left in the final product of the movie, so when she's banging on the glass and begging to be set free, that's not acting! Those are true, genuine screams of fear. The stunt gone wrong, coupled with the poor reception of the film, actually caused her to step back from the sequel, instead being rewritten and recasted as Lizzie Kaplan. Number 4. The Exorcist. Even though people are scared by different elements in horror, everyone can agree that The Exorcist is one of the scariest movies ever made. The Exorcist focuses on a girl named Regan McNeil who is possessed by a demon, and whose only hope is in the hands of an exorcist and a priest. Now, for some reason, this movie was released on December 26th in 1973, so nobody was very jolly when they saw this one. This movie had a strange superpower when it was released. It actually had the ability to make its viewers literally vomit, to the point where theaters were handing out barf bags to anybody stopping by. The most horrifying part of this flick though was not the film itself, but rather the behind the scenes shenanigans that were taking place. Two cast members, Jack McGowan and Vasiliki Malaros, both passed away after filming commenced, which was pretty strange as their characters in the film also pass away. The film was also plagued by non-supernatural villains like its director William Friedkin, who would literally swat actors and fire his personal pew-pew device in the air to get them riled up for scenes. While the film is still considered to be one of the most terrifying movies of all time, sounds like the experience on set was like 10 times worse. Number 3. The Master of Disguise. This next entry involves a brief mention of the events of New York in September 11th in 2001, so if that is a very sensitive topic, please skip to the next entry, no harm done. The Master of Disguise was supposed to be the first of many solo flicks starring SNL alumni and comedy legend Dana Carvey. He played Pistachio Disguisey, a man who discovers he comes from a great long line of super spies capable of pulling off elaborate disguises to take down their targets. It is a straight up weird movie that I loved as a kid, but as I get older it just gets cheesier and cheesier, not in a good way. Unfortunately for the cast and crew, they were filming one particularly ridiculous scene while a real world tragedy was taking place. place. The infamous turtle scene, where Dana feels that he may not be turtly enough to be in the Turtle Club, was being filmed on September 11th, 2001, on the same day that the Twin Towers fell in New York. In the middle of filming a take, the cast was informed of the tragedy and they took a moment of silence. Unfortunately for Dana, he had to spend that moment of silence in full prosthetics. When recounting the story now, he seems to take a lighter approach and he laughs it off, but at the time it was a very dark and very uncomfortable moment for the entire crew. Number 2, Singing in the Rain. I'm singing in the rain, I'm singing in the rain. Ow, my foot hurts! That's exactly what happened to Debbie Reynolds in 1952's Singing in the Rain. For those who may not have seen this film, the story followed a silent film star falling for a chorus girl just as he and his delusional, jealous screen partner are trying to make the difficult transition to talking pictures in the 1920s. That's right, movies used to be in black and white and nobody talked. And when you did it, it was some weird magical thing called a talkie. Fun movie fact for you. For the shoot, Debbie Reynolds was made to film a song and dance sequence that left her in need of a new pair of shoes and a doctor. For the Good Morning dance number of the film, Reynolds and her co-star Gene Kelly were made to jump over a couch at the same time, which was a take that apparently took 40 tries to master. You know how shoes are super comfy these days? Well, in the 1950s, not so much. At the end of the long day, Reynolds had literal pools of red life juice in her shoes. Life juice is the stuff that comes out of you when you're impaled. Despite being a fun dance sequence, the reality is that Debbie is silently suffering through the entire thing. And at number 1, The Shining. In 1980, Stanley Kubrick adapted and directed a film version of Stephen King's famous horror novel, The Shining. The film itself was very well received by most people except for Stephen King. Everyone attributes their joy to the raw performances given from Shelley Duvall and Jack Nicholson. Jack played the unhinged groundkeeper, sent mad by his isolation and the spirits that lurk within the walls of the Overlook Hotel, with Shelley acting as his wife. The performances come from a very dark place, however. The director decided that the best way to get Shelley to deliver a top-tier performance was to make her life on set just a living hell. Her time on the shoot was spent being berated by Stanley, who actually told the crew to ignore her cries of frustration and to disengage emotionally, and she was made to refilm scenes over and over again, to the point where the film actually holds the Guinness World Record for the most recorded takes of one scene. They took an astonishing 127 takes of the infamous staircase scene. Following the end of the shoot, Shelley decided to stop acting altogether and focus on maintaining a healthy personal life. Thankfully, it seems that she has done just that, as she is set to make her return to the acting world in a new horror flick called The Forest Hills, without Stanley Kubrick behind the camera. Number 10, Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato was once a young actress working on the Disney Channel, being on the show Sunny with a Chance and featuring in the film Camp Rock alongside Joe Jonas. Following her time on Sunny with a Chance and the Camp Rock series, Demi shifted her focus towards her music career, but things quickly started going downhill. While on camera she seemed sweet and innocent, but behind the scenes she was becoming deeply engulfed in the world of substances and violence. Unfortunately, she suffered several breakdowns over the years, having to be hospitalized several times, culminating in an overdose a few years back. And despite almost passing away, she continued her partying lifestyle, and so far as we know, she still does to this day. Number 9, Ben Affleck. These days, Ben is known for being himself in movies and playing the role to a T, something that he was also known for at the beginning of his career. But there was a brief moment in between A and B when Ben was not doing okay. The Good Will Hunting star was a good guy in the eyes of the media, he loved his brother, he loved Matt Damon, but it turns out that behind the scenes, he also loved no-no juice. It was after his time on the set of Good Will Hunting that he decided to take hold of his issues. Initially, he just wanted to quit altogether, but in 2001, he attended a rehabilitation program. This was when it was revealed that Ben had a hidden problem. He spent years going in and out of rehab, however, he has received nothing but support from his fans and the Hollywood community. These days, you can catch him on the big screen or snuggling up to his rekindled flame, Jennifer Lopez. Number 8, Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen had one of the most viewed talk shows of all time until she was cancelled earlier this year. Despite appearing to be a bright and cheery host on screen, behind the scenes, she was in charge of an extremely toxic work environment. Eventually, an article was released containing testimonies from several former employees, naming Ellen directly as one of the main antagonists. Ellen canceled herself by denying every single thing that she was being accused of, and instead of acknowledging her faults and missteps, she issued a half-hearted apology and was forced to cancel both herself and her show amid the controversy. Number 7, Bradley Cooper. The star of the Hangover trilogy was actually able to pull a lot of his character's life life from his own experiences. While Bradley may be well known for his acting chops, he is not known for being too much of a party man, and it turns out it's because he put all of that in the past. Bradley made an appearance on the podcast Smartless, featuring Sean Hayes from Will and Grace, Jason Bateman from Ozark, and Will Arnett from Arrested Development. He got real with the gang as he was actually very close with Will Arnett for many years, claiming he was the one who encouraged and helped him to get sober. According to Bradley, when he first moved to Los Angeles, it felt like being thrown back into high school. Initially moving here for a role in the TV series Elias, he was eventually fired from the show. Being out of work while also dealing with an injury to his Achilles tendon, Bradley fell deep into no snow and juice that took over his every waking moment. The turnaround came in 2004 when he was having dinner with Will Arnett, who at the time was well known for mean humor as a stand-up. Will asked how Bradley felt about a dinner that they had a few nights prior with some folks that he had never met before. Believing the night went incredibly well, Will revealed that Bradley was actually incredibly rude. He was ignorant and he dropped a few swear words that I'm not allowed to say online. This was the moment that he realized he was not funny, he was just being a jerk. Bradley began attending meetings and righting his wrongs, and by the time he was in the Hangover series, he had been sober for years. When the story was first revealed, fans were thrilled to learn of his journey and how much he had overcame, being someone who was exposed, but it only made us like him more. Number 6, Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel is known for a few things: family, action, being paid $1 million to say "I am Groot" over and over again, lots of stuff. But there is one thing that many people did not know about Vin Diesel until the mid-2010s, something so dark and mysterious that it is going to haunt your dreams. Vin Diesel plays Dungeons and Dragons. Now I know it's not like he has a no-snow addiction or anything, but come on, that's pretty neat. While promoting his film, The Last Witch Hunter, Vin Diesel appeared on the YouTube channel Geek and Sundry, along with the epic voice actor and host of the D&D series Critical Role, Matthew Mercer. Marketing the episode as D and Diesel, Fast and Furious fans were taken back by the sudden geeky side of Vin. Well, according to his Fast co-star Michelle Rodriguez in 2019, he could not contain his nerdiness on set. Vin even has a bunch of D&D themed tattoos on his body, and he proudly shows them to anyone who asks. Fans were actually really happy to see this side of Vin. If they wanted to keep making episodes of D and Diesel, I don't think anyone would be very upset about that. Number 5, Justin Bieber. Justin became a massive success at a very young age. By the time he reached his teens, he had an album on the way, millions of fans, and some pretty wild accusations. Despite being a baby-faced boy with a big smile, it turned out that Justin had secretly been a very angry man behind the scenes. Around the time he was 17, Justin was photographed flipping off the paparazzi, and he even got into a few physical altercations on multiple occasions. He had also developed a bad habit for no-no juice and a few other illicit substances, something he admitted to before he was the legal age to do anything, really. Several people just out and about started to notice his behavior shifting. Justin lacked self-awareness, and apparently he tended to swear while he was on flights or if he was in restaurants, like a lot. Eventually his whole good guy thing wore thin, and he was becoming a menace. He raced cars, he spit on his fans, and he even vomited on stage. By the time 2018 rolled around, his reputation was completely tarnished. He was eventually able to scrape together his career, he apologized for his actions, and nowadays he's too busy being married to be crazy. Nah, who are we kidding? He's nuts. Number 4, Jussie Smollett. In January of 2019, famous actor Jussie Smollett walked into a Chicago police precinct and reported that he had just been the victim of a hate crime. He told the police that 2 strangers began shouting racial slurs while one was just yelling at him, the other was pouring the chemical bleach onto him before they'd both held him down and tied a rope around him. He claimed to have suffered severe rope burn and was physically ill from the experience. As we all know now, that isn't exactly what happened. The so-called strangers were actually 2 brothers who worked with Jussie on the set of the hit series Empire. According to inside sources, Jussie paid the brothers $3,500 each to help him stage the event, planning every single detail right down to the precinct visit. The proof that all of this was a ruse made up for publicity was the fact that the altercation conveniently took place directly in front of a security camera, and an investigation took place that found ample evidence that Smollett had set himself up. They found receipts for the ropes used during the altercation left in the assailant's home. Way to hide the evidence, boys. There was also security footage taken from the store where the brothers can be seen trying on and purchasing ski masks masks, gloves, and red hats, and I would pay anything to see that footage. It would be so fun. At the end of the day, Jesse was forced to serve 150 days in prison and pay the Chicago Police Department over $300,000 for wasting their time and resources. By the way, before you all get mad about how I'm pronouncing his name, I just want to remind you that he faked a hate crime, so maybe focus on that. Number 3, Tiger Woods. Tiger's secret life made headlines in 2009 when the news broke that he wasn't just some pro on the golf course, he was a cheater too. It turns out that the same year his son Charlie was born, that he was having several affairs, including a full-on relationship with a woman named Rachel. Before the news broke, he was the most familiest of mans around. Tiger was photographed with his wife Ellen Nordegren on numerous occasions, and the couple could not have been happier. He was a golf pro, slowly making his way to the top. He had a loving wife at home and a growing family. But it wasn't enough. This dude needed to be sneaky and make problems for himself. His secret life was revealed after one of his many lovers leaked a series of texts proving the affair. Several more women came forward, and soon enough, Tiger was running away from Ellen as she chased him with his favorite 9-iron. Tiger was forced to reveal his secret to the world, bringing shame on his career as a golfer and just a human being in general. Number 2, George Michael. George is of course very open about his orientation these days and is never one to shy away from the topic, but unfortunately coming out was not his decision to make. In 1998, George was caught engaging in a physical activity with an undercover police officer in a public restroom. The only punishment received at the time was a $500 fine and 80 hours of community service. However, it was the public reaction and press coverage that really put the nail into his coffin. The headline, "Zip me up before you go-go," was on the Sun's front page. Following the incident, he was forced to out himself to the world. There had been rumors for years that George was gay, something that he did reveal to his sister and close friends by the time he was 19. But in 2007, he revealed that he decided not to come out to his parents, claiming the emotional toll the knowledge may have on them could be too much. According to George, keeping the truth hidden for so long took a toll on his mental health. When he finally revealed the truth, a massive weight was lifted. It may not have been his choice to reveal himself to the world, but he took it in strides and became the man that he is today. And at number 1, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnie was the king of the action scene for over 20 years. He first debuted in 1970 in Hercules in New York, and while his face was on display, his voice was dubbed over by another actor. Thus, the secret life. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the secret. It's actually his secret family that landed him on this list. As some may know, Arnold partook in a little affair with one of his housekeepers, Mildred Baina, while still married to his wife, Maria Shriver. Arnie and Maria have 4 children together, and they were not stoked to find out that they had a secret brother. Arnold was well aware that his son existed. Joseph is the youngest of his children. Born in 1997, well into his film career, Arnold was forced to hide his son and his lover. The last thing he wanted was for the world to surround his son and make growing up a nightmare. In fact, it took Arnold 7 years before he realized that Joseph was actually his. Mildred decided to keep the pregnancy a secret and continued to work for Arnold, but eventually it was obvious that Joseph was his. According to Arnold, he just noticed that Joseph was starting to look more and more like himself, and eventually everybody spoke, and Arnold knew that Joseph was his. For a few years, he decided it would be safe to conceal the truth and take care of the family under the table. But when Joseph was in the 8th grade, someone close to the family leaked the information regarding both the affair and the existence of the unnamed secret son. Arnold was forced to come out and take the heat for the affair. While Joe and Arnie are close now, it took a long time to get to that place. Of course, his main family was shocked and a little bit upset that their dad had a whole other family that he didn't tell them about, but who cares about them? Number 10, Oprah Winfrey. Who would have guessed that the woman famous for handing out cars on her talk show was being canceled by the entire world? Well, that happened when Oprah made a career-ending mistake when herself and Dwayne Johnson broke the one rule of being rich: don't ask poor people for their money. A few weeks ago, Oprah and The Rock announced that they would be starting a relief fund for the victims of the Maui wildfires. The People's Fund of Maui was given a solid $10 million to get off the ground. $10 million that was donated by Oprah and Dwayne combined. So why is it just Oprah that's getting so much hate? Well, it's cause she has a net worth of almost $3 billion. That's billion with a B. And the world is collectively furious at Oprah for having the audacity to ask working class citizens for charity when most people can barely afford to put food on their table or even pay their bills. The Rock and Oprah donated $5 million each to give the fund a head start. Well, guess what? $5 million to Oprah is like $500 to us. Oh, and not to mention it was taxed money, so so it wasn't actually her money, it was just money she had lying around that she was like, yeah, that'll go good there. Oprah addressed all the hate online, telling the Daily Mail that she was just disappointed in the world's reaction. Rather than focusing on the good things and the people of Maui, the world was mad that she asked them to give her any money whatsoever. Oprah hasn't confirmed if she'll be donating any more to this fund or not, but so far, it's not looking like she's dropping a penny. Number 9, Russell Brand. This man has slowly been exposing himself to the public over the years. His chaotic energy has just gotten worse and worse as time's gone on. Now, this man has gone down in history as being one of the worst video music award hosts ever, but he's now going down in history for being just an absolute monster. 4 women have come forward alleging that Russell mistreated them verbally and physically between the years of 2006 and 2014, arguably the height of his career. Brand strongly denies the allegations, and in a video that he himself posted, he claimed that while he was promiscuous, all relationships were consensual. One of the women who came forward claimed that Russell started a relationship with her in 2006 while she was still in school and he was 30, which apparently they met when Russell bumped into her at a shopping center and he just started like critiquing her purchases. Great way to get the ladies. According to the women, the relationship was meant to be anonymous, with Russell even asking her to lie to her parents and writing a script for her to keep things smooth. Another woman alleged similar behavior, but added that he had a massive temper, becoming very physical with her a few times. More women have been speaking out about their situations with Brand, all of which are eerily similar and show that he has a pattern of mistreatment. He will probably deny the allegations until the day he's gone, but the news has left his career up in smoke. Number 8, James Franco. James placed himself in a little bubble of public exile for using his powers for evil. The man behind some iconic characters like Tommy Wiseau or Harry Osborn in Spider-Man, and so many more, he seemed to be on the way to a long, successful career following multiple collaborations with Seth Rogen, as well as his turn in more serious roles like True Story alongside Jonah Hill. Apparently though, James has a problem keeping his hands to himself, especially when it comes to his acting students. In 2018, 5 female students at a Studio 4 acting school in North Hollywood told the Los Angeles Times that Franco had used his position to exploit them physically. 2 of those women sued, and Franco was forced to settle outside of court and fork over $2.23 million. At the time, he was writing, acting, and directing a show for HBO called The Deuce, which they said that he was allowed to stay on and finish because it was getting cancelled behind his back anyway. Not only did fans call for the cancellation of that series, but the public outcry forced Seth Rogen to drop his longtime pal, telling the Times of London that the scandal had changed their relationship and they had no plans on collaborating anytime in the near future. There's a simple lesson there, folks. If you don't want to cancel yourself, don't be a terrible person. Number 7, Megan Fox. Megan has been featured in several films over the years, but it was an interview about her time working with Michael Bay on Transformers that really set her career on the wrong path. The original live-action Transformers movie came out in 2007, and it co-starred Megan and Shia LaBeouf in the leading roles. It was a fun movie on screen, but behind the scenes there was a ton of tension. According to Megan, who had previously worked with Michael on Bad Boys 2, working with Michael Bay was like working for Schmittler. You know, the guy who used to run Germany back in the day? Fun fact, if you add sh to someone's name, you can say it on the internet. Loopholes rock. Of course, Michael didn't appreciate being compared to one of the worst men in human history, so many speculated that her being left out of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, however many movies there are, had something to do with the behind-the-scenes drama. She went on to call him bland and claimed that he had no personality or social skills of any kind, which is just rude. When the comments were made public, her career began to slowly suffer. Not only was she written out of the Transformers series, but she was forced to make a public apology and retract the statements following the massive slew of backlash. She took a few years off, but Michael himself later acknowledged there was a misstep on Megan's part, and not only accepted the retraction, but they were able to patch things up and work together on the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Nice! Number 6, Jonah Hill. Unfortunately, it would appear that the once funny man turned Oscar nominee is actually a pretty rude dude. A little while back, a news article broke that his ex-girlfriend Sarah Bradley was showing evidence of Jonah being emotionally damaging towards her during their relationship. The couple first got together in 2021, meeting on the beach as she was a surf instructor. Now, according to a series of texts between Sarah and Jonah, it's pretty obvious that he's being very mentally manipulative and just kind of telling her what to do. He tells Sarah to remove any photos of her surfing from Instagram that showed her bum bum, and when she did that, he told her that it was a good start, but that she didn't really seem to get his point. He went on a bit of a tyrant after that, telling them that it wasn't his place to teach her anything, or that he made his boundaries clear, but at the end of the day, he just sounds like a jerk through the entire thing. In another screenshot that she showed people, Jonah laid out his plans and simple conditions for maintaining their relationship, including stating that he didn't want Sarah surfing with men, which was a big part of her job. He wrote a massive list of boundaries and rules that were clearly him trying to control everything that she was doing, and at one point literally said that she can't post pictures of herself in a bathing suit. So Jonah is slowly being blacklisted across the board, with little to no work coming his way anytime soon. Number 5. Jim Carrey. Jim is known for his hilarious personality on and off screen, but he gave Kat Sadler from E! News and the Daily Pop an awkward interview on the red carpet at Harper's Bazaar party in 2017 that really showed him in a different light. The interaction started with Jim slowly circling Kat as she attempts to express her confusion and excitement that Jim Carrey was at a Fashion Week event. Was this man known for being an incredible artist, bringing his talents to the fashion world? Nah, he was just in a mood. By 2017, Jim made a name for himself as a weird and serious man who tended to venture into the realm of energies and universal concepts whenever he got into deep conversations. He started the conversation with, "This is meaningless," and then continued to say that he wanted to find the most meaningless thing he could attend that night, and that this event was it. A celebration of icons and celebrities that Jim apparently did not agree with, as he didn't agree with the concept of icons and celebrities. He continues to give a small speech about not believing people are actually real and that we're all just a field of energy, and peace lies beyond personality, man. The entire time this interview is taking place, Kat is just super uncomfortable and counting down the moment that Jim says something funny or even remotely related to fashion, but instead he just shares his thoughts, tells her that she has a nice fragrance, and walks away. While Jim's career had already started to slow down at that point, this clip became viral and studios were wondering if he was going to be a good fit for any of their roles. A lot of scripts with his name on them were either rewritten or just simply kept to themselves, right up till 2020 when he made a little comeback in the surprisingly fun Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Number 4. Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy canceled herself by being the meanest, bobiniest woman on the internet. In May of 2021, an individual by the name of Courtney Stodden, a pageant model and media personality, claimed that fellow model, media star Chrissy Teigen, had publicly bullied them online for years. Chrissy was accused of regularly tweeting that she wished Courtney would take a permanent dirt nap, or just straight up end herself. Not necessarily in that format. Apparently Chrissy harbored some kind of jealousy towards Courtney's success and decided to take it online instead of, not publicizing her problems. Chrissy quickly apologized for the tweets and DMs, which were sent as recently as 2019. In one of her last posts, she tweeted, "I'm sad and mortified at who I'm used to be. I was an insincere attention-seeking troll. I'm ashamed and completely embarrassed at my behavior, but that's nothing compared to how I made Courtney feel." Chrissy then decided to delete her social media, following a lot of backlash for her actions, eventually leading to her being fired or leaving any job that she had both on and off the screen. Next time, just keep your jealousy balled up deep inside like the rest of us, or write it down, maybe you'd still have a career. Number 3. Katherine Heigl. Kathy was riding high back in 2007. The former Grey's Anatomy star not only won an Emmy for Best Supporting Actress in a Dramatic Series, but she also began transitioning to the big screen, with the success of her first featured comedy, Knocked Up, alongside legendary comedian Seth Rogen. Unfortunately, her rise to the top quickly became a free fall into a volcano, boom, following an ill-fated Vanity Fair interview the following January. In the interview, Katherine made a move that still has people scratching their heads to this day. She openly bashed the film that made her famous, claiming that it made women look shrew, humorless, and uptight, while also placing blame on Seth Rogen for writing the men as lovable, goofy characters. The film still sits at like 89% on Rotten Tomatoes because while she can say everything she wants, it was a good movie. It was funny, it had a good love story, there were some nice jokes, the cast was great, and honestly, she was wrong. Seth felt betrayed by the comments as they never had a fight on set, and it never seemed like she was uncomfortable at any point. These comments, combined with some negativity towards her Grey's Anatomy writers, caused agents to drop her as a client, and her time in Hollywood quickly came to a screeching halt. Number 2. Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen had one of the most successful daytime talk shows of all time until 2020, when her show became overwhelmed with accusations of toxic work environment. Former employees were claiming that Ellen's happy exterior was nothing more than a facade that she put in place to keep her audience on her team. A little bit of proof came when she accused 50 Shades of Grey actress Dakota Johnson of not inviting her to a birthday party, and Dakota actually reminded her that she did send her an invite and that she got a resounding no from Ellen's producers. Fans started questioning this awkward moment between them, and the cracks in her appearance grew bigger and bigger. Eventually, an article was released released containing testimonies from a lot of former employees, with so many of them that there was no way that this was a lie. Ellen canceled herself by denying every single thing that she was being accused of instead of just acknowledging her faults and missteps as a boss. And instead, Ellen's fans took to Twitter demanding that she respond to the article and claims that she was a short-tempered tyrant. She didn't respond with a public apology, instead she just canceled herself and her show and has been on a hiatus ever since, which is, I don't care, more time for Drew Barrymore's show, bring that back. Number 1, Kanye West. Kanye was slowly going mad in the eyes of the public way back in 2010. As the years went by, he made more and more appearances on TV, but it wasn't until 2018 where his political beliefs got him heated on Jimmy Kimmel Live. When Jimmy asked Kanye how he felt about the response to his decree that he was all for president at the time, Donald Trump, it was largely criticized. He defended his statements by claiming that he didn't have to conform to some united mindset and that he was just upset at all the backlash, but part of him was kind of enjoying it at the same time. He then suggested the world was in a simulation, claiming that it was filled with unpaid actors. The over 20-minute interview was just full of metaphors, the concept of love, and a comparison to himself and the Son of God. This interview was only a short time after his anti-Semitic tweets were circulating online. Ye even made a joke about the anxiety of asking his publicist to go onto the show. He was fairly calm in his delivery of his opinions, but he made sure they were known.
And at number 10, the college admissions scandal. In 2019, the world was shocked to learn that the government had spent years investigating university bribes. The investigation, called Operation Varsity Blues, uncovered that hundreds of parents had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to ensure their child got into the best schools in America. Even more shocking, some of the parents involved were wealthy celebrities like Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Huffman admitted to paying $15,000 to up her daughter's SAT scores, issued a public apology, pled guilty, then served 11 days of a 2-week sentence. Lori was accused of paying $500,000 to get her daughters into USC, maintained her innocence, and in 2020 was sentenced to 2 months in prison, while her husband Massimo was sentenced to 5 months. And at number 9, Tristan Thompson cheats on Khloe Kardashian. Usually someone cheating wouldn't be a big enough deal to completely overload social media, but in the case of Tristan and Khloe, the cheating was so outrageous that people could not believe it was really happening. The first time Tristan was exposed for cheating, Khloe was 8 months pregnant with their child, and videos and photos showed him out clubbing with women, and even taking one back to his hotel room. But that was not all. The internet broke once again when it was reported that Tristan cheated on Khloe again, this time with her younger sister Kylie's best friend, Jordan Woods, who was basically a part of the family at that point. Sources said that the NBA star was seen cozying up to Jordan at a party where they made out and were all over each other. After that shocking and embarrassing scandal, Khloe not only dumped Tristan, but Kylie was forced to cut ties with her BFF. And at number 7, Jussie Smollett. In 2019, Jussie Smollett claimed that he had been attacked on the streets of Chicago by white Trump supporters, who told him, quote, "This is mega country," put a noose around his neck, and poured a chemical substance on him. Social media was set on fire after the attack and pitted Democrats and Republicans against each other even more than they had been before, especially since the president at the time, Donald Trump, was deemed responsible for the incident. However, months later it was reported that the entire thing was a lie, and he was never actually attacked like he claimed. Jussie was arrested and later charged by the Chicago Police Department for giving them false information. Jussie was then indicted on 16 felony charges, and in 2020 he was indicted on 6 more charges. He has been found guilty on all the charges, although he still claims he is not lying. And at number 6, Kylie Jenner's pregnancy. Nothing broke the internet quite like when Kylie Jenner posted a video to YouTube sharing that she had been pregnant for the last 9 months and kept it entirely secret. Not only was she pregnant, but her daughter Stormi was born before the release of the video. Rumors had been swirling that she was pregnant, and it seemed likely because Kylie stayed at home way more than usual during this time, clearly hiding something from the world. In an Instagram post, Kylie apologized for keeping everyone in the dark, but said that she wanted to keep her pregnancy to herself in order to truly enjoy that time. For her second pregnancy, Kylie did not keep it hidden and shared tons of photos and videos with fans. Some fans were even convinced that she had already given birth to her second child and was keeping it hidden because of the Astroworld tragedy. But after the recent birthday party of Stormi, where Kylie was seen incredibly pregnant, it's clear that she is still waiting to give birth, but it looks like it could be any day now. Halfway, number 5, Monica Lewinsky. The scandal involving Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky is one of the most shocking of all time, and it's still so interesting to the public that the scandal was outlined in the latest season of American Crime Story titled Impeachment. In 1998, it was exposed that the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, engaged in sexual relations with a White House intern. At the time, multiple other women also came forward to expose his predatory behavior was a pattern. At first, he strongly denied it, but then a woman named Linda Tripp exposed that it was a lie because she had taped Lewinsky talking about her affair with Clinton. After it was exposed that he was a liar and cheater, he was impeached for lying under oath. He was impeached by the House of Representatives but acquitted by the Senate, so he remained in office until his term ended. In at number 4, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson officially lost it in the eyes of the world in 2002 when he dangled his son over a balcony in Berlin, Germany. People were waiting below and were horrified thinking that Jackson could drop him. Michael later admitted it was a mistake in doing so, saying he was simply excited. He said in a statement after the incident, quote, "I got caught up in the excitement of the moment. I would never intentionally endanger the lives of my children." However, many did not accept this statement. Michael's close friend at the time, Uri Geller, condemned his actions, saying, quote, "I just would not put any child over a railing at such a height. I think it was a silly thing to do. He probably did it because he was overwhelmed emotionally by the fans." And at number 3, Martha Stewart. The queen of homemaking, Martha Stewart, shocked the world when she was sent to jail for insider trading. In 2002, it was announced that she was being investigated for selling off thousands of shares of a company called Clone Systems, because she learned the stock was going to be dropping drastically and didn't want to lose money in the market. She served 5 months in prison for her crime, but shockingly, her time in the slammer did not affect her career very much. Right after she got out, she was back to work, and now it's safe to say her reputation is completely healed following this incident. And at number 2, Tiger Woods. Golf is generally a game that's pretty boring in terms of scandals. The league of golf is generally very professional, with little to report about other than the results of tournaments. But that all changed when the king of golf, Tiger Woods' private relationship was put on display, and we were all shocked about who he really was behind closed doors. In November of 2009, the National Enquirer exposed that he'd been cheating on his wife with a nightclub hostess. Days later, many other women came forward, and it was reported that he slept with hundreds of women while married. After many years of being blacklisted from golf, Tiger was able to come out on top once again and won the Masters in 2019. Although his reputation has been tainted once again, after reports surfaced that he got in a terrifying car crash. His car went off the road and fell off a cliff, leaving his car flipped. And finally, at number 1, Kanye West interrupted Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's acceptance speech at the 2009 VMAs is easily one of the most memorable of all time. Kanye West's interruption happened moments after Taylor accepted her award and became the start of a long-running feud that has pitted Taylor and Kanye fans against each other ever since. Kanye felt that Beyonce deserved the award more than Taylor and grabbed the mic from her, saying, quote, "Taylor, I'm really happy for you, I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time," before being booed off the stage. Taylor was later left back on stage to re-say her speech, but the damage was already done. Tons of celebrities came out on social media to defend Taylor against Kanye's actions.